last couple of years, we've been talking to Mr. Durb about getting the choir out here to sing, and that was the one thing I was like, man, I gotta hear Battle Hymn. That's a song of liberty, guys. It's beautiful. If you haven't heard the U.S. Army version, go on YouTube, check it out. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it honestly just like brings you to your knees. It's amazing stuff. Beautiful song. Well done. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us today. I want to take a brief moment here. Welcome everybody. We have our special guests. We've got a host of local veterans. We have veterans, members of the American Legion here joining us today. Visitors from the Livingston County War Museum. We appreciate you being here. And most of all, I'm just super stoked to introduce our guest speaker here today, a veteran of the Battle of Mogadishu. I always thought about how we stand upon the shoulders of giants. And one of the Marine Corps in 2002, and I looked at the men who fought in places such as Vietnam or Somalia, and these are like the torchbearers of courage and sacrifice. We created these enormously large shoes, which then we had to fill. 2003, my first deployment to Iraq, it was the veterans of Somalia that were standing there that were teaching us, passing down their hard-learned lessons of urban combat, for which we then were about to end. A few years later, a couple more deployments later, then I'm back at home. I'm at ISU, and I meet and work with a group of veterans, and one of them today is, again, a guy from Somalia. Helped me get on my feet, transition home. Some of us know the difficulties that is. For all of them, including today's guest speaker, totally grateful and hope we passed the torch and lived and fought to those high standards for which you all set. A little bit of background here, guys. 1992, the U.S. began Operation Restore Hope in Somalia to provide aid during a widespread famine. The effort was a humanitarian mission to secure trade routes so food could get to the Somalis. Almost right away, militias led by Somali warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid began attacking and killing UN peacekeepers. On October 3rd, October 4th, 1993, U.S. forces set out on a mission to arrest two of his lieutenants, in which U.S. Army Rangers, Special Forces, would helicopter in, lower themselves on ropes, surround the building on all sides. The operation didn't go as planned. Ground convoy ran up against barricades formed by local militias. One helicopter landed north of its target and couldn't move closer because of the intense ground fire. A ranger fell from his rope, had to be evacuated. Insurgents shot down two American Black Hawk helicopters with rocket-propelled grenades. When about 90 U.S. Army Rangers and Delta Force operators rushed to the rescue, they were caught in an intense exchange of gunfire and fought throughout the night. Altogether, the intense 18-hour urban firefight, later known as the Battle of Mogadishu, left 18 Americans dead, many more wounded, and one captured. You may have seen or learned about this battle in the movie Black Hawk Down. Today, it's our tremendous honor, my privilege, to have with us a true warrior, Army Ranger veteran of the Battle of Mogadishu, and a friend of mine, Dale Sizemore.
All right, so normally I don't even write down anything, but today I did. Normally I just stand up here and talk crap, hopefully entertain people. But first, there we go. I'm sure everybody can probably hear me like this, but that's my inside voice. First, I want to thank everyone for having me here today, especially Brad for inviting me. Again, Brad and I became friends, man, probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. A long time ago. Probably longer than that, maybe 15. We just happened to work together and worked in an establishment in Bloomington. Usually we only hired veterans, which was just fantastic because it made things feel safe. But I also want to say happy birthday to the Marine Corps. Right, as everybody knows, it's the Marine Corps' birthday today. Happy Veterans Day, gentlemen. All those, you guys all led the way for us. Who in here has a mom, dad, family member that has served or is serving currently? Go ahead and stand up. Awesome. So what I would like to do is also thank you. It is probably one of the most difficult things to watch your warrior go off to combat, or even just be drug around, the States or the world at a moment's notice. And you guys, keep our United States moving forward, keep our families, happy and healthy for when we return. And so I just want to thank you also, because you guys put out as much sacrifice as we do as soldiers. So thank you very much. So as Brett told you, my name is Dale Sizemore. I was born in Clinton, Illinois. Just decided after high school that I didn't want to go to college, and had no idea what I wanted to do. I just didn't want to be sitting on the Clinton Square watching the high schoolers, drive around it. So I went and saw a recruiter, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and I was like, I don't know. He said, let me show you some films. So I'm sitting there watching films and watching these guys fast rope out of helicopters and row down rivers and, all camouflaged up and jumping out of airplanes. I'm like, dude, that's what I want to do. He said, you want to be a Ranger? I'm like, sure. Little did I know the trail that would lead me down. It was not easy, and besides combat, that definitely tested my mettle as a human being. It was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, and I almost quit many times. Wanted to, but that's the one thing about a soldier is you may want to, but you just don't, and that comes from good leadership also. So we started in RIP, which is the Ranger Indoctrination Program, about 137 students, and 17 of us went to the Ranger Battalion. That's all that graduated. So it's not easy. It's comparable to SEALs, BUDS, and Special Forces selection, but just different because it's mostly young men that are doing it. Those other things are, those other units, those tier 1 units are more experienced soldiers and warriors. So Brad gave you a basic rundown of what happened in Somalia. So I'll give you my take. It started about a week before October 3rd. We were having a volleyball game with all our commanders, and we decided that we were going to hog time and put them on cots and lay them on the other side of the court, and we were just going to serve and win. The last one was Colonel Harrell, and Colonel Harrell was the Delta Force commander, a gorilla of a man, and I was about 160 pounds in, so I was a little guy. About 10 of us decided we were going to attack him and take him down. Well, on the count of 3, I took off and nobody went with me. So I hit him and we just it was like hitting a brick wall. So I just kind of drug him down on top of me, and a few days later we were on a flyover, jumped off the bird, we got back to the hangar, and just brushed my elbow up against the road, and I was like, man, that is just tender. Turns out I had cellulitis and bursitis, so they sent me to the hospital, did an IND, put like a 3/4 heart cast on, had block in the other arm, getting IV antibiotics. And I'm stuck in this hospital, and they tell me, all right, Monday, October 4th, you're gonna fly home. I'm like, okay, call my mom, say, Mom, coming home. On Sunday morning, I was not freaking out, but I was tired of being in that hospital. I wanted to be back at the hangar with the boys, and I'm yelling at this officer, telling him I'm going to steal the next Humvee that comes in if he doesn't get me back to the hangar. So he's like, all right, fine. Next helicopter comes in, we'll send you back to the hangar. Perfect. Well, not too long after that, some Marines and their interpreter were hit by an IED, and it blew up right underneath the interpreter. Well, when I walked out to catch this helicopter, they wheeled him right by me, and there was nothing from the waist down, just his insides on that gurney, and it looked like his arms were just shattered, like they were just limp, like almost like they had an extra joint. So immediately I was mad. So I get back to the hangar, telling all the boys, what happened. A few hours later, we get called to do this mission, and we did several other flyovers, several other missions that usually were called off. 5 missions before that where there were actual missions and either captured people or captured weapons. I had actually spent the first 5 missions on Mike Durant's helicopter, the pilot that was captured. So I sat next to Tommy Field at the door, and but unfortunately Tommy was one of the pilot or crew members that was drugged through the streets that next day. So we get called out. I throw some of my gear on and head out to the bird, and stick up my cast on and have block in my arm, and they tell me I couldn't go out. So they sent me back to the hangar. Somebody else was taking my place, and so he had my saw, which is just an automatic weapon that shoots about 800 rounds a minute, and I was good with it. We were sitting there waiting. There was about 4 Humvees that were out on ammo run and didn't go out on the mission, so they came back and they're waiting. We're all listening to the radio. You got Todd Blackburn falling out of the helicopter. So we knew things had changed. The whole mission was just, our mission changed from just snatch and grab to a rescue. And shortly after that, Donovan Briley's helicopter was hit, and he tried to land on a rooftop and ended up being crushed inside the helicopter. So immediately I was, threw some stuff on, came out, and was like, hey, I'm coming out with you guys. And they're like, nope, not with that cast on. So I'm just, sulking, waiting. Then Super 6-4, the bird I was originally on, was shot down. And at that point, I wasn't taking no for an answer. So grabbed all my stuff, had my weapon, or a weapon, and went out and just kind of, held it up, and I'm like, I'm going out. And so they helped me cut my cast off, pulled the head block out, and jumped on Humvee, and then went out on 2 missions that night, 2 convoys. Both brought back wounded, and Dominic Gilda was one of our first Rangers that was killed. And through the night, we had 18 Rangers, Delta Force operators, and Task Force 160 guys killed. And 76 of those, there was about 120 total, so 90 went out in the streets. The rest of us were on those Humvees that came out second and third convoys. But 76 out of 120 dudes were all wounded. So it was pretty intense. Even today, to today's standards at the time, it was the most fierce firefight since the Vietnam War. And then even through the global war on terror, it is still one of the fiercest battles today. And there have been some serious battles in the global war on terror, and I will tell you, I have the utmost respect for any soldier, past and present, in the global war on terror. Man, those guys go out day after day, and Vietnam, Korea, World War II, I didn't realize it till Monday, October 4th, but the anticipation of going out again and again is, I had no idea until that Monday, but I don't know how you guys did it. It's just tremendous, seriously. that next Monday, we were actually called to do another mission, and it was just my squad. We had the least amount of guys killed, except for my team leader, James Smith, who in the movie was the kid they were trying to stop the bleeding in his hip. And so we were called, some Somalis had come by the front gate and dropped a box. And we were tasked with going out and securing that box and bringing it in so EOD can check it out. And certainly it's like, all right, Sizemore, take your saw, you're gonna go across the street and pull security. Well, it was just me. I mean, I was the only one running across the street to pull security. So I looked at him, I said, Sergeant Elliott, I said, if it moves, I'm gonna shoot it. He said, okay. But that is normally not our rules of engagement. But that was the first time that I was afraid. Cutting my cast off, being out in the streets all night long, you know, shot 4,000 or 5,000 rounds at me. And still, you know, wasn't thinking about myself being hurt. I just knew that my brothers were out there and I needed to go out to help them out. Probably wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I hadn't. And to this day, any ranger in that same situation would have done the same thing. Any soldier. You know, I wasn't dying, so it was just a matter of, I mean, I was hurt, but that was it. Coming back is definitely difficult. As veterans, we all have our trials and tribulations, dealing with stuff, but having other veterans around definitely helps. So I'm going to give you my take on veterans and Veterans Day. As a veteran, I hold other veterans to a higher standard. We are tasked with bringing our knowledge and experiences back home and making this world a better place. That our service should never end. And it's up to us to hold each other accountable for that and to lead, like Mr. Christie, young minds like yours into always doing the right thing. And there's a little quote from this little ranger company that hires Afghani women and girls to make, like, it's called combat flip-flops. So they make gear and stuff and sell it, and that money goes to help them go to school, which is very difficult in that part of the country. But they have some gear in there, and the book just says, be a better human. And that is probably my challenge to all of you today, is just be a better human. Make this world a better place. Veterans deserve appreciation, but no more than what we give back. So let's hold each other to that higher standard, and you know, God bless our veterans. God bless America. Thank you very much.
I want you guys to, you know, reflect on some of those traits, right? Those character traits, how you saw in Dale's story, you know, examples of leadership, of service, of integrity, of selflessness, of sacrifice. I think that's what it's all about here. present some banners on behalf of PTHS to several recent local veterans.
Good morning, and happy Veterans Day. As many of you saw this morning, the Veterans banners are back in the Commons. All the names on each of those banners are names of people who have once sat in the same seats you are sitting in now. They took the opportunity to serve in the military. Each year, we are proud to recognize men and women who have retired by giving their banners that the community have so proudly displayed to them. This year, we are proud to be returning Josh Bray, Caleb Bray, Jacob Libby, Brian Rayleigh, and Luke Spafford's banners to them. Brian Rayleigh finished his contract as a sergeant and spent his career with the 459th Transportation Company in Joliet, Illinois as a truck driver. He finished with 7 awards in 6 years. His first 3 years of service, he was part of the RFX unit that had been ready to deploy within 60 to 90 days. He spent a lot of time training in California and Louisiana. The RFX unit spent their last year training with the 101st unit in Louisiana for a month. After the 3-year rotation ended, he and his unit became a smaller unit and did their training primarily in Joliet and Wisconsin. Luke Spafford graduated from Southern Illinois University in May for aviation. He was an E-4 senior airman and a C-130 crew chief. He was also a member of the Tau Kappa Epsilon as the athletic chairman at SIU. He is now using his pilot license as a private pilot. We are honored to have this privilege to recognize them and their accomplishments. Thank you to all of you who have volunteered years of your lives to protect and serve our country. Thank you.
May all take a seat. Those simple notes carry a great weight. It's good stuff. Hey, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you all for for giving your attention, for listening, for being respectful. I want to thank, teachers for giving the time out of the day. I want to thank, again, members of our Legion outside, local veterans who attended. I think what's impressive, that we forget, or that we should think about, is how we all tend to come home and just try to blend back into society, right? Ryan and Luke, they're leaving the military and they're just entering into life, right? Trying to make it happen. So I want to thank you all again for being here. I want to thank Mr. Art Leach for being here. He was our guest speaker last year. You can see him sitting right up here in the front. And most of all, guys, I want to thank again Dale Sizemore. I can't emphasize enough what a privilege and honor it is to have him standing here sharing his story. I mean that 100%, guys. That is a true honor. Let's give him a round of applause. That's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you go throughout the weekend. I hope you think about some of the things that were said, some of the words that you heard. Take that and carry it forward, right? I hope you take a moment for a little bit of reflection and think about some of those traits and how we can all just kind of work on those a little bit. Guiding lights right there. I don't know what time it is, but I think we're getting into a first hour here, so let's go ahead. We're going to dismiss seniors first. Hey, I should have mentioned too, real quick, Dale's going to be over in my room, 128. Dale's going to be in room 128 for a little bit, and he's got some stuff, if you want to come ask